Okay, so let's begin the session by offering our pranams to our founder Acharya, His Divine Grace, Abhay Charanara Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, ISKCON Samstapaka Acharya. So we'll say the Mangala Charan and the pranam mantras as usual. You can join me. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Shri Rupam Sagrajadam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitantam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpati Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jayatam Surato Pangur Mama Manda Matirgati Matsarvasva Parambojo Radha Madanamo Divyadrindaranya Kalpadrumadaha Shrimat Ratnagara Simhasanasto Shrimat Radha Srila Govinda Deva Prastali Bihi Sevyamano Smarami Sriman Rasa Rasarambi Vamsivata Tatastitaha Karshan Veno Swanair Gopir Gopinata Shri Estunaha Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaurabhatta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaivam Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudire. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the personality of Godhead Narayana, unto Narayana Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya Bhagavati uttama sloke bhaktir bhavatir naishtaki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Nigama kalpataror galitam phalam sukamukaram mritadrava samyutam vibhata bhagavatam rasamalayam muhuraho rasika bhuvi bhavakaha Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha Nama Pankajanabhaya Nama Pankajamaline Nama Pankajanetraya Namaste Pankajandre Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namini Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Paschatya Deshadarine Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vignamina Narasimhaiti Namini Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayitim Girim Yat Kripa Tamaham Vande Shri Guru Dinatarinam Paramanandamaadhavam Sri Chaitanyamishwaram Om Tat Sat. So Hare Krishna everyone. So welcome again to our Srimad Bhagavatam session. So we are doing chapter 3. We are continuing with chapter 3. Krishna is the source of all incarnation. So we'll just recap a little of what we covered in the first part of chapter 3. So in the first part of chapter 3, we talked about the incarnations. This entire chapter is about incarnation, and it begins with the incarnation of the Lord in the aspect of creation. So these are called Purusha avatars, right? Purusha avatar is basically for the purpose of creation of this material world. So we heard about that in the previous session, the details of how the Supreme Lord glances upon material energy in the spiritual sky. He lies down in the cosmic ocean, the ocean of Karana. And as he lies down in this ocean of Karana, he is known as Mahavishnu, an expansion of the Lord. So, or also known as Karanodakashayi Vishnu. And in this way, he lies in Yoga Nidra, a mystic sleep. And millions of universes are created coming out from the pores of his body. So like bubbles coming out from the pores of his body, as he inhales, as he exhales, the universes come out of his body. And after that, in each of these universes, this is the first Purusha. The first Purusha is Mahavishnu, or also known as Karanodakashayi Vishnu. One, the Vishnu who lies on the ocean of Karana, the ocean of causes. So once the universes have all come out from his body, so then this Mahavishnu or this Karanodakashayi Vishnu will enter into each of these universes, right? Each bubble is a universe. So this basically is in answer to the questions raised by the sages. They asked about all this. They wanted to know about the Purusha avatar. So therefore, Sutta Goswami describes this Purusha avatar. So in each of these universe, this Karanodakashayi Vishnu, he enters into them. And he enters into them, and the universe is dark and empty. And then from his body, water comes out from his body like perspiration. But this is very wonderful water, and it is known as the Garbha ocean, the ocean of conception. So the Garbha ocean fills up half the universe. He lies down on this Garbha ocean, and Anantasesh comes and supports him as a bed. And as he lies down, so this Vishnu, the second Purusha, is called Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. So why Garbhodakashayi Vishnu? Because it's from this Vishnu, from his navel, a lotus flower comes, a golden lotus flower comes, and from that Brahma is born. And within that lotus stem, all the 14 planetary systems are created by Brahma. So this is what we discovered. This is what we discussed previously in detail. So I'm just summarizing all these things. And so in this way, he's lying down in the Garbhodaka ocean. So he is known as Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, the Vishnu who is lying on the ocean of Garbha. This is inside one universe. So inside one universe, right? And from this Vishnu only, all other incarnations appear within this one universe. So from the Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, the other expansions of the Lord start appearing within this one universe. So like this, there are many, many universes, which is all in the lying about. And it is also mentioned that the devotees of the Lord, this Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, is also sometimes can be described as the universal form, the Virat Rupa or the Vishwa Rupa, the universal form. So sometimes it's imagined that the entire planetary systems, all the material elements, time, all of this is within the body of the Virat Rupa. Actually, it's describing the illusory form of the Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. That is not the real form. The real form is the Garbhodakashayi Vishnu form. This is the spiritual form of the Lord. So the devotees who have developed the eye of knowledge, so those devotees who have understood the scriptures and they have awakened jnana, vijnana within their hearts, when their eye is tinged, so it's called jnana chakshush, the eye of knowledge of scripture. So they can see all this. They can see the Supreme Lord's form in this way, and they can understand. And also with the eye of prema, premanjana churitach. So therefore, with the eye tinged with the salve of love of God, with bhakti, they are able to see the higher forms of the Lord. So that was described previously. And then within this universe, this one universe, Garbhodakashayi Vishnu further expands into every atom, living being, and space between atoms. So it fills up all the spaces with his expansions. So this expansion is called the third Purusha. So the third Purusha is known as Shirodakashayi Vishnu. So this Shirodakashayi Vishnu is the Paramatma. There is one planet somewhere within the universe, within this one universe, where it is called Shweta Dweep. And in Shweta Dweep, this Shirodakashayi Vishnu. Shirodakashayi means the Vishnu who lies on the ocean of Shira. Shira means milk, the milk ocean. So there he's lying, and from there he expands into Paramatma, filling up all the space within the universe. So Paramatma is in everyone's heart, is in every atom, right? So therefore the three Purushas, these are the three Purusha avatar for the purpose of creation and maintaining the creation. So the first one is Mahavishnu or Karanadakashayi Vishnu. Second one, in one universe, Garbhodakashayi Vishnu. And then he further expands into every atom, and that is the Shirodakashayi Vishnu or the Paramatma. So we discussed this previously. And then another question which the sages asked was, they wanted to know also, not only about the Purusha avatars for the purpose of creation, they wanted to know the pastimes of the Lord, the Leela avatars, which those avatars which come and perform various functions as well as carry out pastimes. So these are the Leela avatars. So that's what we are going to cover today. Now, before we plunge into this chapter, one more recap. This is just to categorize to you the different types of avatars. Now, the Lord has several different types of expansions. So we have discussed previously that the Supreme Lord Krishna is the original form. So he is called Swayam Rupa, the original form. And he is 100% full of all qualities. And then in the spiritual world itself, he expands for various purposes to create and maintain the spiritual world, right? And also to have pastimes. So therefore, in the form of various forms in the spiritual world, this Swayam Rupa Krishna, he expands into the Prakasha forms. So in the Prakasha forms, there are two types, Vaibhava and Prabhava. So we won't talk about that. So these are all in the spiritual world. And from the example of the Vaibhava Prakash form is Lord Balaram, the first expansion of Krishna. And from the Vaibhava Prakash forms, then they further expand into what is called the Tad Ekatma Rupa forms. So don't worry about the Sanskrit terms. I'm just trying to explain that there are three major levels of expansions. The Lord first level expansion into Balaram and the Prakash forms. Second level expansion into the Tat Ekatma Rupa forms. And from there, he expands into what is called the Swamsa or avatars. Now, what is the difference between this form and all the other forms? These forms, they take place within the material creation. Now, the other forms which I mentioned, the Prakash forms, they all appear only in the spiritual world. The Prakasha forms, the Vilasa forms, all that appear in the spiritual world. We won't talk about that. That's very detailed. We will talk about it some other time in the future, far future. So today we are going to talk about those forms which come in the material world. Why they come in the material world? They come for our benefit. Number one, to create the material creation, to provide a place for us to execute our desires. And second reason is to help us get out from this material world. So therefore, they come and they perform various leelas, right? So the Swamsa, Avatara, the word Avatara means one who descends. So Avatara, so that means one who comes down. From high, he comes down. That's the meaning of avatar. So this avatar word is specifically used only for the material world, material creation. When the Lord enters into the material creation, then he is known as avatar, right? So there are several categories. Now the avatars of the Lord, there are many types, but we can categorize them mainly into these 6 categories, right? The first category is the Purusha avatar, which we already talked about last session. And just now I recapped with you. So this is the Karanodakashayi Vishnu, the Garbhodakashayi Vishnu who enters into each universe, and the Shirodakashayi Vishnu or the Paramatma who enters into every atom. So this is for the purpose of creation and maintenance of the material creation. So these are the Purusha avatars. And then we also have the Guna avatars. Now, what are the Guna avatars? Now, Guna avatars are those avatars which take control of the 3 modes. Now, creation has been made. Material creation is there. But material creation has a nature. The nature of the material creation is it has 3 modes. The mode of goodness, the mode of passion, and the mode of ignorance. So these are called gunas. So in control of these 3 gunas, so therefore the Lord also expands further. So Lord Vishnu, as Shirodakashayi Vishnu, right, the Paramatma, he controls the mode of goodness. Okay, and for the purpose of controlling the mode of passion, he gives that to a jiva, a living entity. A living entity can control the mode of passion. So the highest, most qualified living entity is called Brahma. That's the position of the living entity. And he is given the great responsibility of being in control of the mode of passion. Why control the mode of passion and not mode of goodness? Because mode of goodness comes from Lord Vishnu only. So therefore, the Lord of Vishnu, the mode of goodness is under the Lord directly. Mode of passion is because the jivas, they want to enjoy. Why the jivas came to the material creation? Because they want to enjoy, they want to create, they want to become boss, masters, they want to exploit the material nature. So therefore, this is all mode of passion. So that's why, all right, so a jiva is put into control of the mode of passion. So that's why Brahma. Now, sometimes when Brahma, there's no jiva to qualify as a position of Brahma, then the Lord, he comes and expands himself and takes the position of Brahma. But usually, it's always a jiva. There will be a jiva who's taking over the post of Brahma. At least within this universe. Now, in other universes, there may be the Lord coming as Brahma also. But in this universe, in our universe, so far from the beginning of creation, it has been a jiva. So then the mode of ignorance, Lord Shiva takes control of the mode of ignorance. Now, why a jiva cannot take control of mode of ignorance? A jiva cannot control the mode of ignorance because the mode of ignorance is very dangerous. So a jiva, he can be absorbed into the mode of ignorance. And then he cannot, he will go down. So therefore, a jiva is not qualified to take care of the mode of ignorance. So therefore, the expansion of Lord Vishnu in the form of Shiva, Lord Vishnu transforms into Shiva. How he transforms? We have already discussed this in the previous session, right? He Mahavishnu glances upon material energy, and then that glance of Vishnu becomes Lord Shiva. Because Lord Vishnu doesn't associate with Durga directly, right? Lord Vishnu is transcendental. Durga is three modes of nature, material. So how to associate? Cannot. So the Lord is always transcendental. So therefore he glances upon Durga, and that glance manifests as Lord Shiva, and Lord Shiva unites with Durga. So that is how the material creation is created. So therefore, Lord Shiva, who has accepted the three modes upon himself, he is no longer Vishnu, a transformation of Vishnu. Just like how yogurt is transformed, right? Vishnu is milk, Shiva is yogurt. How does yogurt come? Because milk is mixed with culture, then it becomes yogurt, right? So Lord Vishnu, when he accepts the three modes of nature within himself, he becomes Lord Shiva. Almost as good as God, but not God, because he is now mixed with the three modes, no longer transcendental, right? So that is the understanding. So these are the three guna avatars. So we have already discussed this in some detail. Okay. So now we were going to talk about the Leela avatars. So this is Leela. Leela means pastime. All the different wonderful activities that the Lord does just to attract all of us back to him. Now this other avatar category, we will talk about them later. Okay, so let's discuss the Leela avatar. So Sutta Goswami continues, right? He says, first of all, in the beginning of Sargam means creation. In the beginning of creation, everything was empty. Then Lord Brahma was born, and then Lord Brahma created the material creation. And after creating the material creation, he has to populate the material creation. The universe has to be populated. So for the purpose of population, right, he gets other people to do the job. So he already created the world. So now for increasing the population, first of all, his son, Lord Brahma's children, the first of them were called the four Kumaras. So the four Kumaras, their names are Sanaka, Sanatana, Sanandana, and Sanat. Now, Sanaka, the word means ancient. Meaning of Sanaka is ancient. Sanatana is joyful. Sanandana is eternal. And Sanat means ever young. So like that, these are the four sons of Brahma. They were, and these four sons of Brahma, they are called the four Kumaras. And Lord Brahma told them, go and now get married and have children and populate the universe. So this is what they told, Brahma told them. But before Brahma told them that instruction, he first of all gave them spiritual instruction. He taught them all about the jnana, about spiritual knowledge. So after that, when he told them, go and populate the universe, these four Kumaras, they said, hey, look, the whole purpose is to, I don't want to be involved in all this material creation. I want to completely dedicate myself into spiritual pursuits. So I don't want to do this material creation, this karma kanda activity of populating the universe. So all four of them rejected it. So after they rejected it, Lord Brahma became very angry. So his anger was so strong that it's described from the forehead of Brahma, his anger took a form. And this form is the form of Lord Shiva. So this is how Lord Shiva entered into this universe. Through Brahma, because Brahma is the mode of passion. So he wanted to show how mode of ignorance comes from the mode of passion. So therefore, Lord Shiva comes from the forehead of Brahma in the form of the anger of Brahma, which represents the mode of ignorance. So these four Kumaras are the first Sakyavesh are the first avatars of the Lord. Now, of course, once the universe is created, no one is there. These are the first created beings of Brahma, and they were given Jnana Shakti. So what is Shakyavesh avatar? So before I talk about that, what is the purpose of these four Kumaras? What did they do? So these four Kumaras who were situated in unbroken vow, Akanditam. Akanditam means a very strict vow. What kind of vow they took? They took the vow of Brahmacharyam. So that's why Lord Brahma was unhappy. Say, I created you so that you can populate the universe, and you took up Brahmacharya. So, and they were very strict about it. They didn't want to compromise a little bit also. So they took the strict vow of Brahmacharyam, and they also took another vow of Duscharam Brahma. Duscharam Brahma means to undergo strict, very strict austerities, tapasya. They were doing meditation. So this kind of things they were doing, right? So that is what the four Kumaras were all about. And it is described here that these four Kumaras are not ordinary. They are Jiva Tattva, right? They are Jivas, living entities, but they were not ordinary. They were called Sakyavesh Avatar. So on top of being Leela avatars, they perform some pastimes. So therefore they are called Leela avatars. They perform some pastimes. They had some various pastimes which we will hear about in Bhagavatam later on in different cantos. They come in different places. So therefore Leela avatar. But at the same time, they are also Sakyavesh avatar. Sakyavesh means, now before I talk about Sakyavesh, when we say avatar, the Lord is very liberal with the use of the word avatar. Avatar usually means the Lord only, right? Vishnu Tattva, coming from the Supreme Lord. But Sakyavesh avatar is a special category. So what is this special category of Sakyavesh avatar? Now remember, we talked about this. So there is something called Yuga avatar. Before I talk about Sakyavesh avatar, let me speak about these other avatars first. Now, Yuga avatar. The Lord also comes in every Yuga. So in Satya Yuga, he comes as one avatar. In Dwapara Yuga, he comes. So these are categories of how he comes. And he performs some pastimes also. So these are Yuga avatar. Like for example, in Kali Yuga, the Yuga avatar is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, right? And then in Treta Yuga, he came as Yagya. So a red color incarnation. And then in Dwapara Yuga, he came in the blackish form of the Supreme Lord Krishna. So like that, he comes in every Yuga. In every Yuga, the Lord appears. So sometimes the Leela avatar can also be the Yuga avatar. So depends on the situation. And we know there are four Yugas: Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, Kali Yuga. Now, this Kali Yuga, this four Yuga together is called Chatur Yuga. Cycle, one Chatur Yuga, 4 Yugas. Now, 71 of these Chatur Yugas will give us what is called one Manvantara, a period of what is called Manvantara. What is Manvantara? Manvantara is equal to 71 Chatur Yuga. Now, one Chatur Yuga is about 4.32 million years, human years. So 71 Chatur Yuga, you can imagine 71 times 4.32 million years. That creates what is called one Manvantara. So in this one Manvantara, so that is the time span. There are 71 Chatur Yugas. Now Lord Brahma lives for 14 Manvantaras. In Lord Brahma's day, he has a day and he has a night. In one day of Brahma, there are 14 Manvantaras, 14 periods of Manvantaras. Now, in each Manvantara, there is a avatar which comes in this Manvantara also. So we had Yuga avatar who comes in each Yuga. We had Manvantara avatar who comes in each Manvantara, right? So these are the different two other avatars which we are talking about. So here is the one. One kalpa. One kalpa is one day of Brahma, 14 Manvantaras. One mantara is 71 Chaturyuga. So like that he comes, and then the last category I wanted to talk about is Saktyavesh. Now Saktyavesh is very special. All the other avatars is directly Vishnu Tattva. It's the Lord's expansion directly. Whereas Saktyavesh avatar is special in the sense that it is not Lord Vishnu directly. It is indirectly. How is it indirectly Lord Vishnu? So Saktyavesh is Jiva Tattva. That means it's living entities. It's not Lord Vishnu, it's a living entities. Because the word Satya Avesha comes from the word Avesha. You know, what does Vesha mean? Vesha means the costume, right? Disguise, isn't it? So a human being is disguised as the Lord. So that's what Avesha means. Human being, a Jiva Tattva, a living entity is disguised like the Lord, but not illegally. He's in disguise legally. The Lord empowers such a person. So it's like a ambassador. If we have an ambassador of a country, we treat the ambassador with as much respect as we treat the leader of the country. So in the same way, Avesha, one who is in disguise, taking the form of the Lord, but he is directly empowered by the Lord. Saktya, that means, though he is Jiva, he is endowed with the power of Vishnu. This is what is called by Saktyavesh avatar. He is a Jiva, but he has the power and potency of Vishnu. Not full power, not full potency, some aspect of power, and we have different categories of that also. Sorry, excuse me. Now, Saktyavesh avatar can expand into these other categories also. Like for example, you can have a Guna avatar who is also a Saktyavesh avatar. Example of such a person, we have already heard, right? Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma is the Lord of the mode of passion. So he controls the mode of passion, and he's a Jiva. How is it he has such power? Because he has been empowered by the Lord. So it's said that Lord Brahma is given Shrishti Shakti. Shrishti Shakti is the power of creation. So the Lord has this Shrishti Shakti in full. So he gives a little bit of this power of Shrishti Shakti to Lord Brahma, and therefore Lord Brahma is also known as a Saktyavesh avatar. He is also a Guna avatar, but he's also a Saktyavesh. Now, Saktyavesh avatar can also be Leela avatars. So they can also perform various pastimes. So sometimes these two we will later talk about the parallel. Manvantara avatar also can be sometimes Saktyavesh avatar. It can be directly the Lord himself. It can also be living entities empowered with the power of the Lord. Same thing goes with Leela avatar. So these four, this Guna, Leela, and Manvantara can all be part of Saktyavesh avatar also. Now, in Saktyavesh avatar, we have a few categories. The first category is called direct Saktyavesh avatar. So direct Saktyavesh means he is directly given the power of the Lord. And there are two categories of this. One is called ordinary, just Avesha, and the other is called Bhagavad Avesha. Now, before we talk about Bhagavad Avesha, we will talk about ordinary Avesha first. Ordinary Avesha is a living entity within this material creation, right? Within this material creation, who is given a portion of the Shakti of the Lord. So that is a ordinary or Avesha. Now, Bhagavad Avesha is much, much more powerful. So he is also Jiva, but he is given much, much more power. And on top of that, he is not coming from the material world. He is not a conditioned soul. The Jiva which takes up Bhagavad Avesha is coming directly from the spiritual world. We will give examples later. Okay. And then there is also one more category of Saktyavesh avatar. This is called indirect avatar. So later we will talk about it. right? Now, let's go plunge into our Leela descriptions. So this topic, remember, it's all about Leela avatar. Why I mention these other avatars? Because sometimes some Leela avatars are Sakyavesh avatar, some Leela avatars are also Manvantara avatars, or some Leela avatars are also Yuga avatars. So therefore, that's why I mentioned all these other things also. So that's the purpose, so that we know. Okay, so the second avatar. So the first one was the four Kumaras. First, this is given in chronology of time. In the beginning of creation, the Kumaras were first born, right? And they were Sakyavesh, empowered. They were Jivas, empowered with Jnana Shakti of the Lord. Now, the second major incarnation, right? So here is described, Sutta Goswami says, Yagnesha accepted the incarnation of a boar, Saukaram. Saukaram means boar. So Yagnesha means the master of the sacrifices, the supreme enjoyer. This is the meaning of Yagnesha, and that refers to the Supreme Lord. He accepted the form of the boar. So this is a very major incarnation. This is Vaibhava Prakash, also Leela Avatar, directly, Supreme Lord himself. No jivas here, is directly the Supreme Lord. So what did he do? So we know this beautiful picture. It describes what Lord Varaha. This is basically the form of the boar is Lord Varaha. Now, there are two different Varaha incarnations within this universe. There is the white color boar and there is the red color boar. Now, the one that killed Hiranyaksha is the red color boar, which came later. But the first boar incarnation was the white color boar. And what did he do? So for the Bhavaya, for the welfare of the earth, remember in the previous session, the Lord was established as Loka Bhavana, the supreme maintainer and protector of this material creation. Loka Bhavana. So therefore, in the action of Bhavanaha, Bhavaya, for the welfare, for the protection and maintenance and welfare of the earth, this Varahadev, he lifted the earth from the nether regions of the universe. So what happened was, after the universe was created, Brahma created all the planetary systems. There also came two demons, the Madhu and the Kaitaba demons. They appeared from the Lord Brahma. And then they did some problems, they created some problems. And one of the problems is they cause the planetary spin. You know, the planets, they all spin within their orbit. So they caused the planets to lose their balance within the orbit. So the Earth plunged into the lower planetary systems, down to the bottom part of the universe. Remember, there's the Garbhodaka ocean there. So, and over there in the bottom part are the nether regions, the lower regions. You know, Talatala, Sutala, Rasatala. So the lowest region is Rasatala, and the earth dropped all the way there. So that's not the right position for the earth, and it was caused by these two demons, Madhu and Kaitaba. So this Lord came as Varahadev, and he lifted this earth from. So why he took the form of the boar? Because the earth fell into the lower regions, which is considered impure. So therefore, the right form to pick something from an impure place is the form of a boar. So the boar, it lives in an impure place, right? The boar likes to roll in mud and everything. So it lives in an impure place. So this is pastime, Leela. So the Lord wanted to enjoy this kind of pastime. So he took the form of the boar. He's the Supreme Lord, you know, he can do anything. So and even this boar also is very, very beautiful. So the devotees asked Prabhupada, you know, when Prabhupada told them to draw pictures of the boar, Varahadev, they asked Prabhupada, oh, but you know, boar is a very disgusting creature. It's very, you know, how to draw the boar as the Lord? And then Prabhupada says, no, the Lord, even though he accepted the form of a boar, he is always beautiful. So somehow do your best and try to make him look beautiful. So the devotees tried that. So there are many pictures of Varahadev. He looks very nice. So therefore the boar, his purpose is to lift things. He goes to the dirty place, the lower impure place, and he lifts it with his tusk. And therefore the earth was lifted. So there are many other pastimes in regarding with this Varahadev. We won't talk about that now. So today we are not going into detail of each of the pastime. So today is an incarnation, the different Leela avatars we are going to talk about. So we will run through them. So it's like a preview, you know. All these other pastimes will be discussed in the later cantos of the Bhagavatam. So it is like a preview to a movie. Before you watch the movie, a preview is given so that you can see what the movie is all about. So this is an example. So, right. So Prabhupada says, there cannot be any incarnation without a particular function. And such functions are always extraordinary. So very important point. The Lord never takes incarnation without a purpose. Always there is a purpose. In fact, there will be multiple purpose. The Lord, he does 10, 20, 30, 40, hundreds of purpose in one action. In one, you know, there's this English saying, killing two birds with one stone. It's not a very nice proverb because it's killing. But the idea is you get two things done. But the Lord is expert. He's Daksha. So therefore, he performs many things just by one incarnation, just like that. So that's number one. So if somebody claims he's an avatar, so we have to understand what was his function. So if the avatar, so-called person who claims he's an avatar, and then he doesn't do any function, which is not just, you know, it has to be many functions, and it has to be extraordinary, something which, what Prabhupada says here, there are impossible for any living being to perform. So extraordinary functions. This is the standard of avatar. And then Prabhupada says, although he played the part of a boar by the devotees, he is worshipped, staying always in transcendence. So though he took the form of a boar, which is considered not a very nice creature, but still the Lord, even in any form, he is always beautiful. He is always transcendental. That is the specific ability of the Lord. So then the next, in the millennium of the rishis, so this is during the Satya Yuga, right? The personality of Godhead accepted the third incarnation as Devarshitvam. Devarshitvam is none other than, Devarshitvam means the, what do you call, the rishi among the Deva. So among the Devas, the rishi, the greatest rishi among the Devas is Narada Muni. And he was an ordinary. He was, though he is also Jiva, he was Jiva Tattva, and therefore he is called Saktya Avatar. You know, Narada, he performed so many pastimes. So he is also considered Leela Avatar by Bhagavatam. But at the same time, he is not the Lord. He is as good as the Lord because he has been given the power of the Lord. So Saktyavesh Avatar, right? So Leela Avatar as well as Saktyavesh Avatar. And what does he do? He collected expositions of the Vedas. That means the Vedas emanated from Brahma's mouth. It's full of different things, right? The Vedas will have karma kanda, material activities, so many different things. But what Narada Muni did, he's like a bee. He went to the flowers of the Vedas, the flowery words of the Vedas, and he expertly extracted all the saram, which is in connection with bhakti, right? And then he compiled them and presented them as tantras. So he collected exposition of the Vedas in the form of tantras, right? Which deal with devotional service. Sattvatam. Sattvatam means transcendental, which inspire naiskarmyam, non-fruitive activities. That means things which are nothing to do with gain, what we want. It's something to do with transcendence, particularly bhakti. And therefore, Narada Muni is a Saktyavesh avatar who was invested with the bhakti shakti of the Lord. So this is a very special avatar. And you know, Narada Muni, he compiled the Panchatantras, the Narada Pancharatra, which is a very 5 different books which talk about the various devotional practices right? So he's the author of that. And then we can also understand Narada Muni. He's the spiritual master of most of the great devotees in the universe. Most of the great devotees in the universe will have some connection to Narada, right? Dhruva Maharaj, Parikshit Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, so many other people. They will all, great people. All these great devotees, they will have connection with Narada. They become his disciples, right? Valmiki, Murgari, so like that. And this is also an understanding about Guru Tattva. So Guru Tattva is also considered Sakyavesh avatar. So there are different categories of them. Later we will talk about it. So why they are considered Sakyavesh? Because they represent the Lord. And they are invested with some potency. Some, like for example, Prabhupada, the Parampara, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati and all, they all are very special. Later I'll talk about them, why they are special. But this is also the understanding of the Guru Tattva. So they are not God, just like Narada Muni, he is not Krishna, but he is still accepted to be as good as Krishna because he is directly invested with the power of Krishna. But the Guru, he is directly the representative of Krishna, right? So therefore, Sakshat Daritvena Samasta Shastre. The Guru's word is to be taken to be as good as God. So though he is not God, but he is respected and treated as good as God. So that's the tattva. That's the philosophy. Then we have the fourth incarnation. In the fourth incarnation, the Lord became, who are these two personalities? We talked about them in the beginning of the Bhagavatam, right? Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaivan Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Utiraye. In that particular verse, we first offer, before we discuss the Bhagavatam, we first offer obeisances to the Supreme Lord. We offer obeisances to, the second one is Nara Narayana Rishi. So who are these Nara Narayana Rishis? So they are the twin sons of the wife of Dharmaraja. Dharmaraj is, Yamaraj. So they have, Yamaraj had twin sons. And these twin sons are Nara and Narayana. And they are not ordinary. They are very, very powerful. And they are the fourth incarnations of the Lord. Now, even now, this particular incarnation, this is a Nara Narayana Rishi's deities in India. And you can find them also in Badrinath. If you go to the Himalayas in Badrinath, this temple of Badrinath, this is where you can also find the deity of Narayana. Now, this Narayana is not the same Narayana as Lord Vishnu's form, who lies down in the on the ocean of milk on top of Anantasesh. This Narayana is a Rishi. So here's the picture. And though they are Rishi, they had 4 arms. So they took the Vesha of sages. So they are very powerful sages. They are the extremely powerful sages, Nara and Narayana. Now, this Nara is Sakyavesh avatar. He is a Jiva. So on top of being Leela avatar, he wasn't the Lord, he was Sakyavesh. He is Jiva Tattva, empowered with the potency of the Lord. What kind of potency? The potency of penance, tapasya. And Narayana was directly the Lord. He isn't Sakyavesh. Narayana wasn't Sakyavesh. Narayana was directly Vaibhava Prakash. He was directly the Supreme Lord himself. So Leela Avatar. So Nara and Narayana, they were always together, both of these rishis. And what did they do? They undertook Duscharam Tapa, just like the Kumaras. But they set very, very high standards. They set the standards of tapasya. They showed the way to all sages how to perform tapasya, how to control the senses. Duscharam Tapa means very extreme tapasya, austerities. So therefore, and how is it they could do this? They could do this because they were invested by the power of the Lord. Of course, Narayana was directly the Lord himself. Mm. And Nara was invested with the power of the Lord called Tapasya Shakti. So he was Shaktiavesh avatar, and together both of them were doing many, many penances. So they're very famous. Not so much in this Manvantara. They were actually famous in the dawn of creation. You know, we had 14 Manvantaras. Already 7 Manvantaras passed already. Now we are on the 7th Manvantara. So this Nara and Narayana, they came during the earlier Manvantara called Chakshusha Manvantara. So that was many millions of years ago. And they did many things. They defeated several asuras. They, and one thing special about them, this Nara and Narayana, they came again. This Nara is none other than the Pandava Arjuna. In Mahabharata, this Nara became Arjuna. And Krishna became, Narayana was Krishna directly in the chariot. So together, they were always together. And in the during Narayana Rishis, they killed a demon called Sahasra Kavacha, very powerful demon. And that demon Sahasra Kavacha took birth again during the Mahabharata war, and he became known as Karna. Again, they killed this demon. Karna was killed by Nara. So they did many things. The Apsara Urvashi also came. They were created. Urvashi was created by this Narayana Rishi. It's a very interesting story. Once the Devas, they didn't know that Narayana Rishi was the avatar of the Lord. So they were very scared when this Narayana Rishi were performing penance. So, when they performed penance, they were always afraid that these people will take over their kingdom in Indraloka. So Indra, he sent some apsaras, heavenly damsels. He sent some apsaras. He sent Ramba, Menaka, a few others, and all of them to come and disturb these two rishis. But these rishis, they were not disturbed. They just looked and they wanted to teach these devas a lesson. So they just, one of them, I think it was Narayana, I'm not sure which one, he churned he touched his thigh, and from his thigh appeared a beautiful apsara. This apsara was 100 times more beautiful than the other apsaras. And all the other apsaras, when they saw these apsaras, their mouth all hung open, like that. They were just like awestruck. Oh, so beautiful. And then they didn't know where to keep their faces. So that apsara is called Urvashi. And so like that, the devas were embarrassed. So like that, they did many other things. They also, the Purusha Shukta prayer. The Purusha Shukta prayer was also composed by the Narayana Rishis. So anyway, they were, and this Narayana Rishi, this Nara is Shaktiavesh, but Narayana, he is Vaibhava Prakash, the direct expansion of the Lord. And it is described in the Garga Samhita that Narayana, had the full power of Vishnu, not just partial power or some portion of power. He had the full power of Vishnu. So therefore, he is called Purna Avatar. Like the full moon. The moon sometimes shows different parts of the moon, right? So during the full moon, we see the full moon. So this Narayana Rishi, he showed full powers of the Supreme Lord. He defeated very, very powerful demons together with Nara. So he's one of the Purna avatars. So we will read about all these Leela avatars in the Bhagavatam in the future cantos. Then, in the 5th incarnation, Panchama, in the 5th incarnation, the Lord appeared in the name Nama as Kapila. This is Kapila Muni, who became the foremost among perfected beings. So he showed the path of Jnana. Those who are in the Jnana, there's 2 transcendental paths, right? The Jnana and the Bhakti path. Now, Kapila Dev is expert in both, but he set the path for the Jnani path. So he showed how to become the perfect Maha Yogi, Siddhas. He is the, like those, the Maha Avatar, Babajis and all that. They basically try to follow in the footsteps of Kapila Dev. So, is foremost among the perfected beings known as Siddha. Now, he is also Jiva, not the Supreme Lord. So Satyavesh avatar, a jiva who was empowered. And what did he do? He gave an exposition of the creative elements and Sankhya to Asuri Brahmana. What is Sankhya? Sankhya philosophy. The philosophy of material creation, how material creation ultimately is divided into 24 elements. Remember the Tanmatras, the Jnana, the Panchabhutas, Jnanindriyas, Karmindriyas, all these things we discussed in the previous session. So altogether they form 24 elements. So the analysis of each of these 24 elements, detail how to control all these elements. That's why Siddhas, Siddhas, they are called Siddhas because they have Siddhi. Siddhi means the mystic power, ability to control all these elements. So, and it is Kapila Dev who introduced all this. So this philosophy is called Sankhya. And he gave this philosophy to a person called Asuri Brahmana. Now, Asuri Brahmana lived for many, many thousands of years earlier in a different Manvantara. And he performed lots of sacrifices. He performed Karma Yoga very strictly. And he performed many, many sacrifices. And actually, he performed a very special sacrifice called the Panchashrota. This sacrifice invoked knowledge. The purpose of performing sacrifice is to develop knowledge eventually, to attract knowledge. So this Kapila Dev, he came to Asuri Brahma and he gave him this knowledge of Sankhya. Because this knowledge was lost. Initially, the four Kumaras described this knowledge, but eventually it got lost. So Kapila Dev came and then he established this. And he has the power called Vijnana Shakti. So the power of the Lord to attain transcendence. And this is a very special. So though he is Satyavesh avatar, Kapila Dev, he is a jiva empowered with Vijnana Shakti of the Lord. But this Satyavesh avatar is not ordinary. Just like Nara. Earlier we had Nara and Narayana, right? And before that we had the four Kumaras. Now Nara and Kapila Dev are both Shakti-Avesh avatar, but they are not ordinary Shakti-Avesh avatar. They are called Bhagavat Avesha. What is Bhagavat Avesha? Now Bhagavat Avesha are jivas not from this material world. They are not conditioned souls. They came from the spiritual world. They are Nitya Siddhas. They are eternally liberated. So they came from the spiritual world for a purpose in this material world and invested, taking some of the power of the Lord with them, being given that power, they perform some activities. So therefore, that's why Arjuna wasn't an ordinary jiva. He was a Nitya Siddha, eternally liberated. So he's called Bhagavat Avesha, a category of Satyavesh, Bhagavat Avesha, directly from the spiritual world, more powerful. Same thing with Kapila Dev, right? But Kapila Dev, though he gave this knowledge to Asuri Brahmana, this knowledge of Sankhya, but the real knowledge he gave to his mother. So he gave two types of knowledge, the knowledge of Sankhya and the knowledge of Bhakti. The knowledge of Sankhya he gave to Asuri Brahmana, but the knowledge of and that discussion is not given in the Bhagavatam at all. The Bhagavatam doesn't talk about this because it's not important. But the part where Kapila Dev instructs his mother in devotional service and also Sankhya, both also he instructs his mother, that one is captured in the Bhagavatam. We will hear about it in Canto 4, I think. So it's a very special. So Kapila Dev, the mother of Kapila Dev is Devahuti, the wife of Kardama Rishi. And Kapila Dev, and she prayed for an incarnation of the Lord, and Kapila Dev came and he instructed Devahuti in attaining devotion to the Supreme Lord. So this is the special position. Now, let's take a short break here and look at our avatars. Now, we talked about Swamsa, the Purusha avatars, the Guna avatars, the Leela avatars, the Yuga avatars, the Manvantara avatars. Now, Manvantara, each Manvantara is controlled by the father of man. He is called Manu. So, in one Manvantara, there is one Manu. So, like the first Manvantara was called Swayambhuva Manu, and he was a Shaktiavesh avatar of the Lord. And later, there are other Manus. Now, our current Manu is, if I'm not mistaken, called Vaivashvata Manu. Yeah, Vaivashvata Manu is the current Manu, the seventh Manu at the moment. So, and he is the father of mankind. Because after each Manvantara, there is destruction, and then again, human beings are populated again. So, this is a period of 71 Yuga cycles. Now, in each of these Manvantara, the Lord takes appearance also. He comes as a special avatar in each of these Manvantara. So if there are 14 Manvantaras, he appears 14 times. So now, Sakyavesh. I mentioned how Sakyavesh avatar can encroach upon Guna avatar, Leela avatar, and Manvantara avatar. So they can be empowered. Someone from Guna avatar like Brahma can be Sakyavesh. Someone from Leela avatar like the Kumaras, like Nara, like Kapila Dev, they can be Sakyavesh avatars, Jivas, empowered with the power of the Lord. And this empowerment of the Lord, remember I mentioned there is ordinary Avesha. These are ordinary living entities who are conditioned within this material creation, who are given the power of the Lord. Example, like the Kumaras, the 4 Kumaras. They were conditioned souls. They were given the Jnana Shakti of the Lord. And then we have special Aveshas, the Bhagavat Aveshas, which are Jivas, but Nitya Siddha Jivas, coming from the spiritual world. Example, Nara and what do you call Kapila Dev. So ordinary Jivas, just now we covered Sanat Kumaras, Narada, and Nara is not here. Nara is in the Bhagavat category. So Nara comes under Lord Kapila together with the Bhagavat. So it's a mistake here. Nara should be here under Bhagavat avatar. So then we have Leela avatars who are directly Vaibhava Prakash, who are directly the Supreme Lord. Example, now all of these are Leela. Sanat Kumara, Narada, Nara, Lord Kapila, all of these are Leela, but they are also Sakyavesh avatar. Now in Leela avatar, we have Varahadev, Narayana Rishi, right? And we have one more category under Sakyavesh, we will discuss later. Now let's go back to our incarnation list. The 6th incarnation of the Purusha was the son of the sage Atri. Now this is a very special incarnation. And he is called Dattatreya. You would have heard of him, Dattatreya. Why he has 3 heads? So why he has 3 heads is because he was born from the womb of Anasuya, who is the wife of the sage Atri. Now, this Anasuya was one of those wonderful chaste wives who served the Rishi Atri very, very, very well. It was an ideal wife in that sense. And she asked for a blessing because she was an ideal chaste wife in so many different difficult situations. She attracted so much of Sukriti and blessings that she became very, very powerful. So therefore, in her, it's actually a long story, but anyway, eventually she prayed. She said, "I don't want anything else. Never mind. I have so much of special power and everything because of my austerities, but I don't want anything. I only want one boon." So she prayed that Lord Shiva, Lord Vishnu, and Lord Brahma will appear in front of her. The 3 Guna avatars will appear in front of her. And she prayed that I want all 3 of you to combine and become my child. So therefore, the 3 of them combined together and they became the child of Anasuya. So they are he's known as Dattatreya. So that is and what did he do? This Dattatreya, he spoke on the subject of transcendence. So he also gave some important knowledge about transcendence. So you see, the Lord comes in different yuga, different manvantara, again and again, trying to help the jivas to go back to the spiritual world. So this time he spoke the message of transcendence to Alarka, Prahlada, and others. So Dattatreya, Sakyavesh avatar. He is not an ordinary avatar, he is Sakyavesh avatar, but he is also Bhagavad Avesha. He is not ordinary jiva empowered with the power. He is coming from the spiritual world. He is a Nitya Siddha coming from the spiritual world, jiva, and empowered with the Vijnana Shakti. Vijnana Shakti, or the power of the Lord to give transcendence, to teach about transcendence. So this is the special incarnation. This is a deity of the Dattatreya in India, in one of the temples. Then, in the seventh incarnation, the Lord took another very special form. He came as Yajna, the son of Prajapati Ruchi and his wife Akuti. Prajapati means the son of Brahma, who's in charge of populating the universe. Just like how the Kumaras, they were supposed to do that, but they rejected that job. Because they were rejected that job, Brahma cursed them. So anyway, this is Prajapati Ruchi. So he took up the job to populate the universe. And together with him and his wife Akuti, they had the seventh incarnation. And he was called Yajna. And what did this Yajna do? He controlled the period during the change of the Swayambhuva Manu. Now, this was the first Manu. During the dawn of creation, the first Manu, because it was the dawn of creation, there were no jivas who were capable to become Indra. Indra is a post, but there were no jivas suited to become Indra. So therefore, the Lord himself came as an avatar, and he took up the position of Indra, right? So, and he was called Yajna. The first Indra in this universe is called Yajna, and he was an incarnation of the Lord. And he appeared during the first Manu, Swayambhuva Manu, and he was assisted by the demigods, and he had many children, and he had some of his children are the 12 yamas. So like that, he was assisted by very powerful people, and he did many wonderful things. So Yajna is a very powerful incarnation. He killed many demons. He was controlling the Indra Loka entirely. And this is a Manvantara avatar. So he appeared as the Manvantara avatar. In every Manvantara, there will be one avatar. So in the Swayambhuva Manvantara, Yajna was that Manvantara avatar. And on top of that, he was also a Yuga avatar. He came to show the practice of Yajna. That's why his name is Yajna. To perform sacrifices, fire sacrifices as the Yuga Dharma. In every Yuga, there is a Dharma, right? And there's meditation in Satya Yuga. In Dwapara Yuga, there is a, Yajna. In Treta Yuga, Yajna. And then in Dwapara Yuga, like that. So he came to establish Yajna. So he was a Yuga avatar. So three things: Leela avatar, Manvantara avatar, Yuga avatar. All three was Yajna. And so powerful, he was very powerful. And he was also described in the Garga Samhita as Purna avatar, having invested with the full power of Vishnu. He came displaying the full powers of Vishnu. Then we have the eighth incarnation. The eighth incarnation was King Rishabha, son of King Nabi and his wife Meru Devi. Now, King Rishabha is also quite famous. What did he do? He came as a king, and he had many children. He had 100 children. And after having these 100 children, he taught these 100 children very important things. And after that, he renounced his kingdom, and he went to the forest, and he lived a very austere life, showing everybody the path of a sannyasi. So this is what he did. In this incarnation, Urukrama means the all-powerful Lord. Urukrama showed the path of perfection. how to attain perfection, dhiranam, the path of perfection, as how to follow tapasya, which is followed by those who have fully controlled their senses and who are sarvashrama namaskritam. Sarvashrama namaskritam means amongst all the ashrams, everybody gives respect to this ashram. Now, ashram, there is brahmachari, there is grihastha, householder, there is vanaprastha, the retirees, and there is the sannyasis. And the topmost of the sannyasi is called the Paramahamsa level of sannyasa. And this Paramahamsa sannyasi is given respect by all the other ashrams. So Sarvashrama Namaskrityam. So, and he showed that path, how to follow that path of Paramahamsa sannyasa. So this is King Rishabha. And this King Rishabha is very famous because, you know, Jainism, the Jains, they follow the instruction of Rishabha Dev. But unfortunately, the Jains, they don't accept the Vedas. They follow Rishabha Dev's instructions. Rishabha Dev showed very strict instructions on how to live very simple life. Very austere, their practices. But somehow it got, there's some deviation happened somewhere. Anyway, the followers of the modern followers of Jainism, they reject the scriptures, Vedas, but they accept the teachings of Rishabha Dev. So just the teachings alone they accept. So Prabhupada says, you know, foolish men seek after material sense pleasure, which is attained by even animals as a substitute for real happiness. The human life is therefore not meant for seeking material pleasure. It's meant for attaining eternal and unlimited happiness by spiritual realization. And this spiritual realization or unlimited eternal happiness, which we are all looking for, is obtained by tapasya, austerities, or by undergoing voluntarily the path of penance and abstinence from material pleasure. And this was very nicely shown by Rishabha Dev. So if you read his teachings, he will describe this to his sons. And Rishabha Dev was also a Sakyavish avatar. So Leela avatar, but at the same time, he was a living entity, Jiva, and he was empowered with the austerity Shakti, the tapasya Shakti of the Lord. But he was also not an ordinary Jiva, not a normal conditioned soul. He was coming from the spiritual world, Bhagavat Avesha, not an ordinary Avesha. So then we have the 9th incarnation. Oh Brahmanas, in the 9th incarnation, the Lord, prayed for by the sages, accepted the body of a king, Prithu Maharaj. The Lord came as a king. Now, there was a problem because during this period of time, there were some bad kings. So there was a king called King Vena, who was a very cruel king, and he was very incompetent on top of that, very similar to our current administration in many countries. Extremely greedy, extremely incompetent. The earth suffered, people suffered, right? So, and then what happened? The Brahmanas all came together. They dethroned the king with their Brahma Tejas. They had the power. They could dethrone the king. And after that, what they did? After dethroning the king, they prayed for the Lord to come. And the Lord came as King Prithu. And what did he do? He cultivated the land because the land was so barren. It was completely, you know, the previous king, he exploited her so terribly that the earth ran away and completely nothing was yielding. No produce was coming out from the earth. So, but King Prithu, he performed many austerity sacrifices, and he eventually made the earth very bountiful and very beautiful and attractive. So it's a very beautiful pastime. Here shows the pastime of King Prithu. We'll read about this in Bhagavatam, how the earth, she took the form of a cow and she was running away. And King Prithu, because after King Prithu performed the sacrifices, the earth was still not yielding. The earth was still running away because the earth was very afraid. So King Prithu chased after the earth in the form of a bull, of a cow. And he conquered this cow. And then with his powers, he conquered the cow. The earth came into his control. And the earth also eventually realized that this person was not an ordinary person. He must be an incarnation of the Lord. And then after that, the earth produced. So he showed the art of cultivation and how to administer properly. So Prabhupada says, whenever there is some negligence on the part of the king in discharging his duty, the intelligent class of men must dethrone him. So the duty of the intelligent class of men, namely the Brahmanas, is to dethrone a king who is negligent. So that's important. And after that, what do? Do they take his place? No. The intelligent class of men, however, do not occupy the royal throne. So that's why they remain intelligent. They never mix up in politics. They never aspire for political posts because they have much more important duties for the welfare of the public, namely spiritual transcendence. So they do their job, but then they don't get involved in the nitty-gritty of the common administration. So it's interesting. Prabhupada's purport was there, so I thought it's worth mentioning. So Prithu Maharaj is also Shakti-Avesh avatar, but he was a normal Avesha, a normal living entity. When I say normal, not just normal, of course, a qualified living entity who was invested with the Palana Shakti, the power of the Lord to administer, to be a king, to be a perfect king. So very specially empowered person, Prithu Maharaj. And then when there was complete inundation after the period of Chakshusha Manu, so every Manu, after every Manvantara, usually there's some kind of destruction of the earth. So usually there'll be a disaster, a major disaster. So here during the Chakshusha Manu, the type of disaster that came was the entire earth was inundated with water, flood, completely flooded the entire earth. So when there was complete inundation, and the whole world was deep within water, what happened? The Lord again came. He accepted the form of a fish. So because water everywhere, isn't it? So the Lord wanted to go for a nice swim. So he came in the form of a fish. Matsya avatar. This is the Matsya avatar. And what did he do? He protected Vaivasvata Manu, the next Manu. This is the current Manu that we are having now, right? So the current Manu we are having is Vaivasvata Manu. What he did, he came to Vaivasvata Manu and he told Vaivasvata Manu, look here, Vaivasvata Manu, there is going to be a great flood and I want you to build a very huge boat, an ark. And I want you to collect 2 species of every living entity and bring them and put them inside this boat. And then I will help you further. Does that story sound familiar? It should, because it's the story of Noah's Ark, isn't it? So the story of Noah's Ark, which is from the Bible, it also comes from here. Matsya avatar, Vaivasvata Manu. Vaivasvata Manu is Noah. Another name for Vaivasvata Manu is King Satyavrata. So what happened? So Satyavrata did all that. He created a big ark, and then he collected all the different species of living entities, plants, sages, people, everyone. And then the flood came, and then they were saved. The sinful people were killed, but these people were saved. And because the flood was everywhere and the waves were terrible, so the Lord took the form of Matsya, and Matsya, he has a horn. So he told Vaivasvata Manu to tie a rope on his horn, and Matsya avatar will save them, will carry them to safety. So anyway, that is Matsya avatar. So fish is not the only one. After that, the Lord took the form of Kamata, tortoise. So this is the 11th incarnation of the Lord. Whose shell. So why he took the form of a tortoise? Because the Lord he had an itch in his back, and he wanted to get that itch scratched. So, and at the same time, there was a problem on earth. was going on. The devas and the demons, they were fighting. And then they wanted nectar, amrita, nectar of immortality. So they wanted to churn the ocean of milk and then get the nectar out. So in order to churn the ocean of milk, a huge ocean, to churn it, they went and caught hold of Vasuki, a huge snake, and this snake became the rope of this mountain. They took a mountain, the Mandara mountain, very huge mountain, and the mountain had to have a support. So because the mountain needed a support, there's nothing that could support. The mountain was so big. So therefore, the Lord took the form of a tortoise, and then he put the mountain on top of his back. So you can see here, this is the tortoise Kurma avatar, mountain on top of his back. And as the demons and the devas were pulling the rope of the snake Vasuki and churning the mountain, churning the ocean. So in this way, the scratch, the itch on the back of the Lord got scratched. So he was enjoying it. So it was a nice pastime. Very, very interesting pastime. We will hear about it very nicely in the Bhagavatam in later cantos. So what did he do? So whose shell served as a pivot for the Mandarachala hill, which was being used as a churning rod by the Suras, the Devas, and the Asuras of the universe. By the demons and the Devas, they came together. The theists and the atheists, they came together. They cooperated together to bring out nectar. Many things came out from this ocean. It was a huge enterprise. It was a huge undertaking. Very, very interesting subject matter. We will hear about this in the Bhagavatam. So here, this is the Suvarna Bhumi airport in Thailand. And you can, if you go there in the airport, you will find this this depiction of the churning of the ocean. Samudra Mantan. This is called Samudra Mantan, the churning of the Samudra. You can see Lord Vishnu on top, and you can see here Kurma avatar at the bottom. And this is the Mandara mountain, and this is Vasugi, and these are the Suras holding, the Devas holding the tail, and the Asuras holding the head. So very interesting. So then, as they were churning the ocean, many things came out from the ocean. Kamadenu, Surabi came out from the ocean. And then Lakshmi Devi also came out from the ocean. And the elephant, Airavata, which Lord Indra sits on, that also came out from the ocean. Uchisrava, the beautiful horse, Pegasus, also came out from the ocean. So, but finally, the one they really wanted was the Amrita, nectar of immortality. And that was brought from this ocean by none other than by the incarnation of the Lord in the form of Dhanvantari. So the 12th incarnation, the Lord appeared as Dhanvantari, and he brought this nectar of immortality, this Amrita, in this golden pot. So Dhanvantari is very famous. Dhanvantari is the Lord of Ayurveda, the Lord of medicine, right? The people who follow Ayurveda, they worship Dhanvantari. There's a Dhanvantari temple in India. And he is also Sakyavesh avatar. He's a Jiva invested with the power of the Lord. He's popular for fame. Very, very wondrous. So then we have the 13th incarnation. Now, after this Amrita came out, all the demons and the Asuras were going to fight to get the Amrita. So the Lord didn't want that to happen. So the Lord came in the form of Mohini Murti. He allured the atheists by the charming beauty of a striya, of a woman. So the Lord, after fish, then tortoise, now he came as a woman. So as Mohini Murti, the most beautiful existing woman in entire creation, with the Maya Shakti of the Lord directly applying. So the Lord came in this way, like a drama, he came and he walked in such a way that the Devas and the Asuras were completely swayed, and they were willing to listen to whatever she will say. So she allured them, and she made them all sit in a row. So, and she told the Devas, don't worry, I will take care of this. So she made them sit in a row, the devas in one side, the demons in one side, and looking at the demons and smiling at the demons as she walked by. But in the other hand, she was pouring the amrita on the plates of the devas. She wasn't pouring it for the demons. Because if they drink this amrita, they will live forever. Nothing can kill them. So it's a very, very wonderful pastime. It happened also. So anyway, that's just the part. Now, this Mohini avatar is important to note, is not an eternal form of the Lord. It is a temporary form of the Lord only. It appeared during only this universe. Only in this universe it happened. It may not happen in other universes. So, the Lord being a woman, so it's just a one-time thing only. So he came as Mohini Murti. And he gave nectar to the demigods to drink. He bewildered the atheists, the demons, and she gave nectar to the devas. And then we have the next avatar, Narsingadev. So this is a nice verse. So I'll just read out. Chaturdasham Narasimham Vibhrad Daitendram Urjitam Dadara Karajair Urav Irakam Kata Kridyata. So here what happens? In the 14th incarnation, the Lord appeared as Narasimha. And what did he do? He bifurcated the strong body of the Daitya Indra, the Lord of the Daityas. Lord of the Daitya means demons. Lord of the demons is Hiranyakashipu. With what? With his bifurcated means to tear apart into two. And he did it with his Karajai, nails. Just with his nails. Just as a carpenter pierces cane. Just so simply, just so easily, in that way. Very beautiful analogy. And this is, again, Vaibhava Prakash avatar. Just like Varahadev, but more powerful. He is known as Purna Avatar, Vaibhava. So therefore, Lord Narsingha is one of the Purna avatars. So in the 15th incarnation, the Lord assumed the form of a dwarf. Then he came as, okay, let me see, it's now 9:30. Okay, let me see how much I can cover. Another 5 minutes. In the 15th incarnation, the Lord assumed the form of a dwarf, Brahmana. So this is Vamana Dev. And what did he do? So you can see Vamana Dev is known for his incarnation of beauty. There are 3 incarnations which particularly represent the beauty of the Lord. One of them is Vamana Dev. Very, very beautiful form of the Lord. Another form is, I will mention later, keep the suspense. So, of course, Mohini Murti, but she is not permanent. She doesn't exist in the spiritual world. There is no planet for Mohini Murti in the spiritual world. Whereas for Vamana Dev, he is a Vaibhava Prakash. So there is a planet for him in the spiritual world. And he is representative of that beauty of the Lord, a portion of the beauty of the Lord. So what did he do? So, and visited the arena of sacrifice arranged by Bali Maharaj. So Bali Maharaj had a sacrifice, and in this sacrifice, you know the story, right? In a sacrifice, it's customary to give charity to the Brahmanas. So Bali Maharaj was a demon king, and he was conquering all the universe, and the Devas were in big trouble. So Vamanadev came to take away the kingdom and to save the Devas. He's always helping the Suras. So what did he do? Willing to regain the kingdom of the 3 planetary systems. The 3 planetary systems are the entire universe. Basically the Bhumandala, Bhuvar Mandala, and the Swarga Mandala. All 14 planetary systems, all of them within here. So therefore, what he did, he simply begged for Padatrayam, 3 steps of land. He came to Bali Maharaj and he begged 3 steps of land. And he was a dwarf. So Bali Maharaj said, oh, ask more, don't ask for this. Then he gave a long discussion about the importance of being satisfied and everything. And then Vamanadev, he asked, no, give me this 3 steps of land. So he gave the 3 steps of land, and immediately what happened? He expanded himself into huge form. and with one step, he covered the entire upper planetary systems, the Swargaloka systems. So entire Swargaloka systems he covered, right? He even reached up to Brahmaloka. You can see here the Lord. And then with his second step, he covered the lower planetary systems, going all the way down to Rasatala. And then now he says, tell me where to put my third step. So therefore, being in Bhuloka, Bali Maharaj said, you can put it on my head, because my head is neither of the planetary systems. So in this way, Vamanadev put his feet on the head, and Bali Maharaj became purified. He became completely devoted to the Lord. So it's very nice pastime. And I think it's getting late, so it's 9:30 already. So we will not cover this pastime today. There are some more. We will discuss them in the next session. So, but ultimately, all these pastimes, all these Leela avatars, they are all coming directly, indirectly, they are coming from the Supreme Lord. You know, the Supreme Lord expands, expands, expands. Ultimately, all of them are coming from the Supreme Lord. So why he does all these things, you can see, right? So many different things the Lord does just for the sake of all the living entities in this material creation. So he comes. And the source of all these incarnations is the Supreme Lord Krishna. And Krishna is known as the Avatari. So later we will hear about that as we talk. Okay, so we will stop here today, and we will continue our narration of the Leela avatars in our next session. Okay, so let's see if there are any questions. Anyone has any questions, you can raise them, you can type them in the chat, or you can just unmute and speak.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yes, Hare Krishna, Ramanadu Prabhu.
Prabhu, let me clarify this, avatar and expansion. Expansion is Krishna expansion with the gopis. Krishna expansion to become, Brahma stole all the cowhead boys, and Krishna expand and follow the boys.
Yes.
Went back to the house.
Yes.
That is called expansion. Huh? Now,
Yep.
avatar is the one, the 14 avatars you was mentioning, right?
Yep.
Thank you, Prabhu.
So the difference here, Prabhu, because in English, we only have these two words, incarnation and expansion. We don't know any other word. Whereas in Sanskrit, we have Swayam Rupa, who is Krishna. We have Swayam Prakash, who is the first expansion, first level of expansion. And in Swayam Prakash, we have Vaibhava Prakash, we have Prabhava Prakash. And then from Vaibhava Prakash, we have Tat Ekatma Rupa. And in the Tat Ekatma Rupa, we have Swamsa, we have Vilasa, and Swamsa is called Avatar. So the other categories is difficult to explain now. So we will talk about that some other time, right? So these are called expansions.
One more clarification, Prabhu. One more clarification.
Yeah.
Now, Krishna has no job. He is a supreme personality. He has no job. He expanded to Vishnu. From there, so many personalities exist on spiritual planet to take care of the welfare of the universes, right?
So, yeah. So that's why I said, you could look at it this way. There are two categories of expansions. One category of expansion has nothing to do with the material world. It's everything in the spiritual world. So that category of expansion we did not discuss at all. So that is the Prakasha forms. Nothing to do. We are not discussing. So for the purpose of material creation, the Lord expands as Mahavishnu. So Mahavishnu is one of those expansions, and from there he enters. So because he enters into the material creation, so therefore they are called avatar. If he doesn't enter into material creation, then he's not called avatar, he's called expansion. I hope that's clear, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu. Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Right. So any other questions? If you think of any later, if you look at the notes and all, you can put it in the chat. Happy to answer. So let's meditate on all this. how the Lord, it's important to understand how the Lord, by his mercy, he's doing so many wonderful things just for our satisfaction, just for our sake, maintaining all creation. So let's meditate on this and then celebrate Sri Krishna Janmashtami in 3 more days' time. So with that, thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for your for attentively hearing. So Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Sri Krishna Bhagavan ki jai. So Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna,
Krishna.
Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare
Thank you, Prabhu.